Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive.
Well, that was
Andy. Well, you know, it's been a good weekend to this point.
Wake them up. Wake these people up. It's Monday.
It's been a good weekend to this point. Monday is... There's some big decisions on the plate here for me. I need the Rams to get a dub, or I'll be out some scratch, but that's okay. I would like a Rams cover too, personally, but that's obviously a much smaller position. Here we are on Monday, and this is usually the time and space where we recap what happened in the week and look ahead to get some early thoughts on the lines. Last week, basically, we should have just fired away in our pod because all the numbers moved. I don't think anything consequential happened, but you never know. And we adopted these cats, and it's been outrageous today. Outrageous. This one just loves being on camera.
I'm gonna get on Amazon here. I'm gonna get you one of them spray bottles.
They're sweethearts. They just love the camera, and
you just spray them.
The dude loves the microphone. He loves rubbing his face all up against it.
That's no excuse for bad behavior from cats.
But in general, we sit here, we recap what happened, we look ahead to the lines, we pick some winners, or we try to, and we reflect a little bit.
We did some of that at halftime yesterday, just because we had time. Well, that game didn't. There wasn't a lot to talk about in that game, so we got into some of the opening lines. So maybe that's what we do. If you want to do recap, maybe we start with last night, work backwards, just for funs.
Oh, that's a fun way to do it. But yeah,
fresh in my mind.
We've talked a lot about a lot of the games, a lot of places, but we haven't put it into podcast form. We haven't, and today you've had through the sober daylight of a Monday. You have a little bit of time to reflect on what we saw, and maybe take some lessons to look towards the next round of the playoffs. So
I didn't even drink that much yesterday. I took it pretty easy today. Just Sanpel, taking it pretty easy for now. But yeah, we did get to tell if we do want to start and work backwards, we did get to talk a little bit about the first half.
Yeah.
And I mean the second half went about how we expected it, I guess.
As well as we could have hoped.
About as well as you could hope if you bet over 21 and a half with us. That was quickly not in doubt. I don't think anybody was even worried if they had a 21 and a half, because you had a whole quarter left to get that half point, take care of the hook. I didn't pay attention really to a lot of it. I guess my biggest surprise about the second half was that they used trick plays. Like, why are you shaking some of that, the big man touchdown? Like, why are you shaking some of that stuff out of the playbook in a game that's well in hand, when you might want to hold on to some trickeration and then I thought, it is Andy Reid, and I feel like his bag of tricks is akin to the Mary Poppins bag. Like you could pull flea flickers and Statue of Liberties out of there until the cows come home. So I'm less worried about that. I really
half-eaten Subway sandwich in here.
I was just trying, hero. So I was just trying to nitpick a little. Otherwise, I mean, the Chiefs looked really good once the offense picked up, and I think the biggest part was that it was not just, oh shit, Kelsey had 140 yards and Tyreek had like 2 long bombs. Like, they're using everybody. Jerick McKinnon got
everybody's chipping in.
Yeah, everybody's chipping in. It's scary if you're sitting on something that's anti-Chiefs at this point. Yeah. I wanted your opinion because you're heavy Bills now. And
okay, so yeah,
Are you worried about the balance? I don't mean balance in the way of running and passing. I mean balance as in they're using a lot of different weapons, and it looked really good. And then taking 3 steps back, pulling the rope in, realizing they played the 7th seed at the same time. It was still a bad team. Not bad, but it was a middle of the pack team they played.
Okay, so let's start. You covered a lot there. I want to go back to the bag of tricks first.
Okay, start there.
There is equal value in having this misdirection in your arsenal. and also taking the ball out of the most important player in your hands when you're in a high leverage situation. And Andy Reid tends to do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And it annoys me. Like there's been
the
definitely been
fumble.
games. The fumble. God, I can't believe there was an example in that game.
Yeah.
But yes, like there's really no reason that you would do that there. Then you didn't need a spark really to get your offense going. There's plenty of time left in the game. Like they found their footing anyway once they knew they needed to answer. But he does that where they'll trot out something and they're making a wide receiver or tight end in this case is making a pass, and it's like, I don't know that you gained what you thought you gained there relative to what you lost by having the ball out of Pat Mahomes' hands. And ultimately, like if you want to unload all the trick shit in a 2-7 matchup where you're going to win by a margin regardless, fine. Like practice all that shit. You want to put it all on film, keep people guessing, unload it.
I mean, there is the other hand of stakes. Like, there is the possibility, and I put this at a low probability for all the plays. There may be a play or two where you have that formation and there's a couple different things you do with it. You put it on film and they see it like, oh, this is a trick play. And you do something completely different, Monty Python style. But it harkens to the same argument that people have about fake punts. Like, yeah, there's that little bit of, oh shit, we weren't ready for that. But at the same time, if you're going to do a fake punt on like a short 4th and short, you just put your offense out there.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
Like what is that trade-off for? We had to have a punter throw it instead of our all-pro quarterback. Like maybe if it's a really unique situation and I like fake punts on like 4th and 10.
No,
where you need it's like this is not.
You're not going to convert it if you go for it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like it's a low. The probabilities, if it's 4th and 1, the sneak and the fake punt. But if it's 4th and 10, just a normal play and the punter throwing, like that's where that extra little bit of surprise and misdirection from the fake punt make up for it. But I get what you're saying. It's kind of in the same thing there. It's like why do you take the ball out of the good players' hands who know how to mesh a handoff with the running back?
Yeah, exactly. And who can take a snap cleanly. Yeah, all that shit. Okay, so then the next question then is, okay, what is the Chiefs' offense ultimately? Like again, like in a neutral game state going up against an equal strength foe, which is what they draw this week, is the offense what you saw for much of that game against the Steelers? Or was that just kind of because they have kind of gone as far as the turnovers have gone so far this year.
Yeah,
they haven't gotten a ton going on the ground. CEH was a wreck. McKinnon surprisingly had some pop, which again, there's always a couple of these random running backs who barely take a snap in the regular season that have like these big playoff games, and who knows if he sustains it or not. But I don't know that I know really what the Chiefs offense is and if it's as good as we would think from looking at the numbers, because it's changed a lot over the balance of the season. And realistically, we talked about it on the stream last night. Like Mahomes' scramble is a devastating play. It's devastating. It's 3rd and medium, 3rd and long even.
Dak's scramble
they clear
at the end
out
of the game was devastating.
that was a season ender. Yeah. This Mahomes scrambles are an absolute disaster to deal with, especially if you're a structured defense. I did not have any concerns or worries about Mahomes and the Chiefs offense up against the Steelers defense before the game, because you figure, they got a couple game breakers, but they don't run the too high shit. They're aggressive. They will, Mahomes will make them pay for that. And it felt like checked all of those boxes during the game as you watch it. And so it was more like a matchup, between the Raiders and the Chiefs than it was the Chiefs and somebody who's running the too high safety look. And so I'm prepared for the Chiefs offense not to look as good, really, if they're going up against the defense that has the safeties to be able to make Mahomes operate within structure.
I'm gonna call that a hot take, because I too agree that they will not score 42 points and have plenty of time to fiddle fuck around at the end. Yeah, like this was the high end of the offense. This was the offense against the Raiders. This was the offense against, oh God, they had one other game towards the end of the season where honestly really playing against
the 2 games against the Raiders and the 2 games against the Steelers.
I was going to say
they
the
got
Steelers,
whatever they wanted.
The Steelers, they put up quite a bit. The first half against the Bengals, we saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the adjustments were there, if it was on the Bengals or if the Chiefs just slowed things down, but if we see the offense that we saw at times versus like Denver, you see the, and they did get that win, but like both Denver games, even though they swept that series, like those games stunk. It was like this offense stinks. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Giants. They scored 20 and 19 in those. They beat, who is it? Jordan Love? Was it 14-7? Like if that's the offense you see, this defense has been improved, but this is not Big Ben you're facing. Obviously, you need the offense to land. I guess if you're the Chiefs, you can't expect, or a Chiefs backer, Chiefs fan, can't expect what you got this week. At the same time, I think if you're the Bills, you're probably in the same boat. Both those offenses are going to take a step back, but the winner will probably be the team who can get their offense closer to middle of the pack than coming all the way back to, the low points we've seen during the season. Like that Packers game, despite having it in hand, that was a low point. Put that game away. The Jags game for Buffalo, obvious low point. There's a couple low points for them. Even keeping it, Bills, the last game of the season, being close with the Jets. Like if the either offenses regresses to that where it's like, what is going on here where you can't convert third downs, we're making bad decisions, we're dropping passes, we're a big qualm I've had with Kansas City for a long time now is like, hey, here's a bunch of shit that's working constantly, but you'd still like it's 3rd and 2 and you're throwing a 60-yard post route to Reek. Like, why aren't you just taking what they're giving you? Like, why do you have to get greedy with it all the time or think like this is what we're used to doing, so it's what we're going to always do? So if Kansas City is like that, and look at us, it's turning into a full breakdown of this game. But I know.
Because we need to either say we learned nothing about Kansas City last night because of the opponent.
Yeah, both
because
teams.
of the way. But like honestly, like this was, the Chiefs turned the ball over twice. Like literally, if there has been one constant across all of their losses this season, it's 2+ turnovers. Like that's kind of important if you're really going to. I guess the Bengals amazingly did not turn them over, but there were so many penalties in that game that it was probably the same win probability lost.
There was at least 2 turnovers.
Yeah. So I think I still have reservations about the Chiefs offense up against a good scheme.
Oh yeah.
Or the Chiefs buster scheme. And I did not learn or have much of a positive feeling about the Chiefs defense last night. Not that they because the opponent that they played against was a bottom 5 offense in the NFL. So they looked good in general. They gave up some garbage time points. We got nothing from that. They're pretty healthy. They're pretty, they can make plays. But I think there are ways to pick on that defense. It's the same unit that gave up points and yards easily to the Buccaneers and to this Bills team in the fall, right? Like it's the same personnel. Not much has changed. So I don't know. I didn't learn anything about the Chiefs ultimately. I think they're still vulnerable.
I don't think the two teams in this matchup, we're pretty close on the number. I don't think we learned much either though. Like the Patriots had a bad day and the Bills just sometimes when it's working, it's working. When you're hot,
do you want to jump to that game right away?
No, I don't. I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking forward. I'm like they play each other, right? You broke my brain for like a second.
Sorry,
I see it in my eyes. No, I don't want to jump to that. We'll get to that one next, or when it's in the correct order. We're going.
Okay.
We're going.
So let's go back. Let's keep going back in time. We'll talk about the Cowboys and the Niners. Do you want to reflect on this one first?
Yeah.
Major takeaways from here. Just a coaching puke fest.
Coaching, Jimmy G. I wonder how much the injury played into some of those throws late. just they were due for a turnover. It felt like for a while. It was like Wincy where it's like, oh, he's going to throw a bad pass. It's coming. But even then, I had Niners money line, and I said I'm feeling pretty good. And then I haven't had one turn on me like that in a while. It's like, oh, I don't feel good at all. And then even late, I'm like, you just knew in that last drive, I'm like, they're crossing the 50. Like they'll have a shot at the end zone. I can't believe they didn't get a shot at the end zone.
Yeah.
But like the way they were moving, it was 10 to 12 yards at a time, always standing like on the end or in the out of bounds line, the sidelines there. That's a good name for it. And it's like, Christ, they could do this till they're at the 20 and they'll have 15 seconds left. But the time management at the very end where they decided to run a quarterback keeper up the middle for 20 yards, that kind of bit him in the ass. And I think the better team won. Dallas was a good team, but this was kind of the game plan you could all see happening if they got behind. They could absolutely fall into this trap. They needed some things to go wrong for them to get back into it like that happened. And really, the Niners played great in the first half. I hated how the Niners got away from some things. And now the Niners have some defensive injuries, which makes things a little sticky as they head to a very tough road matchup, second straight week on the road, obviously. And a little worse weather up there. It might be cold up in GB. But that's what happens when you're a lower seed like this.
I think it's fair to speculate on the Jimmy G thumb injury and how it impacted his performance in that.
I read something too about the weather.
I think it's fair.
It's not going to be good for a thumb injury like that.
No,
like being cold is going to make it worse. Which stinks.
But so a couple takeaways on the Niners looking forward. Jimmy G's thumb's not right. It was better in the first half than the second half because of the shot.
Yeah, the 2 games ago, he got the shot at halftime.
And he was better in the second half.
This game, so we need intel because we're betting either first half or second half.
He's going to get it before the game for sure.
Yeah, so maybe Niners first half.
I like this. I like this. Okay.
Green Bay second half is tore it all wears off.
God, dude, Green Bay was so fucking good in the first half of that game against the Rams last year, though, off of Brest. Man, they came in firing. They were really good.
First half over.
What's interesting call. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other major takeaway is the Niners lost 2 important defensive bodies in that game. Warner went out. Bosa went out. I think
Bosa plays.
Warner has come out and said he's going to play. I think he's
talking. He's talking tough. I don't know. Like Bosa seemed more likely after the game. My initial reaction was like, I think Bosa plays. Warner seems like he might not.
My gut was Bosa's 90, Warner's 75. That's my current feeling right now.
That's pretty fair.
The Deebo Samuel was the MVP of that game.
MVP.
He was not the MVP. That was Dak Prescott.
Bullshit. Yeah.
He was the MVP of that game. Every play that they put the ball in his hands, particularly behind the line of scrimmage, does not matter.
I like what I hear from him too. If anybody caught the post game interview with young Dylan, him and Deebo there, like he's just
fascinating.
He's like, you know what, Coach Shannon, he's got faith in me, and I've got faith in him too. I'll line up wherever. I love how he's just like, whatever, I'll run the ball. Like it's the silliest thing to say. Of course you will. You want the ball. Like you're an offensive player. Like, yeah, you want me to be a running back? Shit, I get to touch the ball more? Fine. Great. And they really do have a nice subset of offense for him. I worry that this game, not if I want to take 10 steps back, talking a little more about the matchup with Green Bay here, I worry that it's going to get ruined where like Jimmy G's thumb is really fucked and we end up starting a rookie who got very little playing time on the road in the cold versus a rested 1 seed. Like that ruins the game for me. Even if I didn't bet it, I would be mad. And I've been the guy.
Let's put those thoughts under the hat. Because I agree with you 100%. And honestly, San Francisco has a lot of decisions to make about this game and how they're going to treat this game and whether they're going to throw Lance into the fire or pull. If they're going to have Jimmy on a short leash. All of those are very real questions. The Niners running game looks sharp. The Niners short passing game and yak game totally fine.
Ayuk is taking a big step forward.
Yes, he has. He was very, very, very impactful in that game. Jimmy airmailed the game winner. Would have been the end of the game if he hits them on that one pass down the sidelines. I don't know that they get a touchdown on that drive on that play, but they get points on that drive and it's over.
Sneaky part of that pass offense is Juice Check too. Like
he was. He
got airmailed on the sideline.
Well more than Kittle, who's an MIA.
Kittle got involved very late. He had a catch which helped, but like that Juice Check again, he got airmailed. It was not a completion, but Christ, that guy got up for a fullback. Like he's an athlete. He's a very good player. So it's kind of the same thing I said about Kansas City. Like we saw a lot of different people getting involved, and that offense looked really, really good, especially in the first part of the game. Those scripted plays, and then even building off that a little, just with using some of the stuff that was successful from those scripted drives. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the first half was looking like holy shit. They're just gonna truck them here.
Yeah, and I guess the couple of reasons they didn't. They're high leverage plays, third downs in the medium range, they kind of flamed out after they had the lead. They weren't really playing with they were just willing to take the 3 points and put their defense back out there, which I didn't love because Dallas is an offense that if and when Dak snapped out of it, and it took too long for Dallas ultimately, but if and when he snapped out of it, they were a team capable of scoring 30 quickly. So I didn't love all of this conservative Shanny just taking the points in the first half of that one. He kicked a lot of field goals in that game. He made 50-yarders, though. I don't know that they're making 50-yarders in the 0-degree temperature in Green Bay, though. You can pretty much count that out.
This game and the Bengals game, overbackers probably deserved a little better. Now, this one was 51. It's not like it was right there, but they were a little conservative for the likings of people who had taken that number.
I agree. The general spirit I had about Dallas, they will continue to fail in high leverage moments with Mike McCarthy at the helm. I would not be surprised if their regular season is not as successful next year as it was this year. Yeah. I will not be surprised. I mean, clearly they don't understand who the better running back on their own roster is. Clearly there's lots of cooks in the kitchen telling lots of people what to do and lots of incentives across the board for kind of doling out that football, and Dak has done a good job at times this season juggling it and did not do a great job in this game in terms of distributing the ball. Way too much Zeke, not nearly enough Pollard. The McCarthy in-game donks were really something.
The fake punt followed by the field goal.
The fake punt followed by the fake punt. Yeah.
Yeah, like, is the punter still in the field? They're like, the crew was confused. We have
I think everyone was.
Yeah, everyone was just like,
everyone was confused, and San Francisco was like, well, do they want us to take a timeout? I mean, I think let's make them take a timeout.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Was it 40 chess Galaxy Brain backfiring? Because if you don't sub, they can't sub. So they have their punt return unit, but at the same time, you still have your punter on the field as a skill position player. You're playing 10 on 11. Like, their punt returner is still a corner or, a wideout or a running back. Like, he can play some.
Here's
some strong safety.
If they ran and did a hurry up and put Anger under center and ran like a play that they had designed, like we were running an offensive play, hurry up, go, I would have stood up and clapped. Like, I can't fucking believe they did that. Holy shit, they had that in their pocket. They had that in their pocket. Because we would have been lampooning San Francisco. How do you not see the fake coming in that spot? It was so obvious.
And while we're still laughing about the fake,
they just scored. Anger just threw a fucking dart.
Anger just ran the triple option.
Oh yeah,
with two gunners behind him, and he pitched it, and they ran 40 yards down the field.
Yeah, like if they had lined up with him under center and gone for it, actually run a play and caught them by surprise, I would have stood up and clapped. Because worst case scenario in that, you lose, you get stopped at the line of scrimmage, maybe you lose a yard or two. Better than taking a 5-yard penalty.
The half has a point here too. It looked like they wanted to do something, but maybe it was one of those cases where it wasn't there. Like we saw that in the Bengals game with Burrow.
You got to decide quicker to get your offense on the field.
That's the thing. Like, if we're being apologists for it, they have to decide faster because you have the full play clock to play with. You haven't gone that far. You're not running people 40 yards down the field.
If the idea is line up, and if they have guys meandering towards the sideline like they're coming off, special teams units coming off, then we're going then run the play. If they're quasi lined up, then we won't run the play. They needed to act more quickly. But either way, that was a holy crap moment. And really that came at the end of a lot of really questionable.
And then the kick, the field goal after that.
The field
goal. Be aggressive
after,
and then kick the field goal. So I like Dallas this year. I had fun with this team. I'm glad the Niners moved on. I think they were the better team, and
they deserve it for sure.
If they're healthy,
they came out on fire in that game.
Yeah,
they were playing so
they
were
together
playing up in that first half for sure.
Good game plan, and they're healthy. They have a chance to compete next week.
I agree.
If these injuries go the wrong way and Jimmy G is not right, it could be the stinker of the weekend.
Yeah, everything comes down to Jimmy G's thumb, in my opinion.
Yeah, Philly. Speaking of the stinker of the weekend, not that there weren't a couple, really, if we're being honest, a couple blowouts. This one was over. I don't know. At what point was this really over? I guess
the way through the second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, even at halftime, it was only a 3-score game. But once we got to 31-0. I think I'm not sure what happened there if the defense just started to soften up and realized they didn't have to. Maybe they could mail it in a little at the end, because the Eagles did score 15 straight to end the game, but those were truly garbage points. I guess technically they were within 2 scores at that point, but it really didn't matter. They tightened back up again, and that was the end of the game. I didn't have a ton to say on this, except like when. And again, we can compare this to the Chiefs game where it's like, hey, this offense looked really good. It was the Eagles, and they were missing some pass rushers. I think the biggest takeaway is similar to the Niners game, where like there were some injuries, and that's something to worry about as we play this next game against, a probable half-decent pass rush from one of these teams. If you are the Bucs, because I don't know how much more you have to say on the Bucs, I'm not going to do a postmortem on Philly. They had a pretty good season, all things considered. Like starting a young quarterback, brand new coach, and getting into this playoff mix ahead of teams like the Saints, who suffered a lot of injuries, the Vikings, the Falcons, whoever else you had there. Getting to the playoffs was nice. It was a nice little season. Can't take anything away, but I don't have a ton other than the offense looked good against a bad team. If you're Tampa, who would you rather face? Let's assume
Arizona.
Yeah, I think the pass rush is good, but
I think by a lot you were cheering for the Cardinals to pull off the upset.
I'm less worried about the pass rush, and I'm less worried about my coverage unit versus them. So
I'm less worried about you being able to match Jalen Ramsey up against my wide receiver 1.
Yeah,
I'm less worried about I'm less worried about Aaron Donald ruining Tom Brady's life. I'm less worried about our secondary covering Cooper Kupp and Beckham Jr. I think what we saw in the first matchup between the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was not a fluke. That was these pieces fit together, good for Rams, bad for Bucs. I think that was a true read in terms of how these teams match up. Yes, the Rams played up in the game. Yes, that felt like their early season Super Bowl. All the stuff they'd been practicing all summer was all out there on the field. It all worked though. And the Buccaneers, how many snaps for Jamel Dean in this game? Did he get any? He had 66% of the defensive snaps.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was out
Davis
there.
had 66% of the defensive snaps. Jamel Dean matters a lot in the matchup with the Rams if that's who you play. If it's the Cardinals, I think the Buccaneers are pretty cleanly through to the NFC title game. The injuries for Tampa mattered in this contest going forward, specifically Wirfs. I don't know what to make really. I don't think we're going to see JPP again. We may or may not see playoff Lenny again. But the Bucs are still a decimated team injury-wise relative to a lot of the other contenders right now. And I don't think that can be overlooked. In this matchup against the Eagles, the defense for the Bucs had a great time. Fun as time as ever going up against an inexperienced quarterback making his first playoff start who was puking in his mouth and swallowing it. You know, he was not running the offense effectively at all through the first quarter and a half here. 3 plays, 5 yards, 4 plays, 15 yards, 3 plays, -3 yards, 12 plays, 40 yards. They turn it over on down. 6 plays, 40 yards. He gets picked off in the end zone. Like, it was an absolute first half from hell. Credit to Hurts for hanging in there and not, completely giving up on the game in any, entirely. They don't get a touchdown until there were 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So game is over, 31-0. But, I think anyone that rushes to judgment about the state of Hurts being the franchise quarterback of the future for the Eagles should cool off a little bit, take a cold shower. I'm not saying that he is a franchise quarterback, but I'm telling you, he showed you a lot more this season than you expected to see. And that people calling for pulling him for Minshew in game was pretty silly.
I was fine. No, I was fine with that because I would have loved to see what happened.
Well, that's for entertainment. From an entertainment, us as viewers, entertainment standpoint.
I don't know. Like in a one-off playoff game, Minshew right now is a better passer. Yes, he is. He's less dangerous.
I'm not shaking my head disagreeing with you that he's a better passer. I'm shaking my head that in the fabric of your coach-quarterback relationship, you do not pull your starting quarterback in his first ever playoff start because of poor performance and expect next year if you make it back to the playoffs, that's not going to be in the back of his head. Like literally, like if you make that move, you damage that relationship for life. Like now you're a Nagy Trubisky cancer waiting to end this. Put this to bed.
I think you just got to tell him, like, I'm sick of you getting hit. We need you in the future. We're going to put the mustache out there.
I don't know that you can shield him from criticism.
If you can't, he's not ready to be an NFL quarterback. If that's too much for his brain, he doesn't have the mentality to play in this league. He's not a top quarterback, and he shouldn't be on that field. Absolutely. Like, I think you're wrong there. If that's too much for him, he's not ready for Pop Warner.
It takes
that's bullshit.
Okay, but here's the thing though. If you make the move, now you head into your off season. You basically have told the entire city, your franchise fans, everybody, your coach, your team, the locker room, like this guy's not our guy.
You were down 31-0. I don't think it says that. If you pull him, if you're down 8-10 and you pull him, it says that.
Well, people were calling once it was 31-0. Let him go score some garbage time points so he can like hang his hat. He didn't get shut out, right? Like I thought there once the win probability was under 5%. You absolutely stick with
people are crushing it in the chat. He got pulled in the national championship game. He's fine.
All right.
It's funny that it's Jalen Hurts that have to. I don't know. I thought
he left the team though after that happened. Obviously, he needed a starting job so that he could repair his opportunity for an NFL job.
Yeah, change of pace would have been fun for just to make it a game because. They didn't prep for somebody who's going to throw that much. They prepped for a running quarterback. I guess there is a little bit of a psychological element there, but I don't know. Like if he can't handle that, I'd worry about his psyche after losing big games.
Your defense had no chance of realistically stopping Tampa in that one. So
you put Minshew in, and then you cut him after the season and be like, yeah, we never liked that guy. he was never a contender.
I don't think you can do that either because there's other teams out there that will give you assets to get Minshew on their team.
Well, you don't have to cut him; you trade him. Be like, get his ass off the team. He tried to. You know what? We put him in there just to keep you safe. Didn't like some of his comments. He seemed to think he was ready to play.
All right, you're talking me out of this apparently, but
I don't know. I just like to get work though. This game sucks. What are we going to talk about?
It did suck. I'm just saying that there are a lot of quarterbacks, guys that you knew you were going to ultimately throw back out there into the mix. Who had stinkers in their first ever playoff start. And Hurts is effectively a rookie. He wasn't really a rookie, but this was
he didn't play.
So, like the fact that he didn't look great, it really didn't surprise anyone, really. except for whoever went and limit bet the fuck out of Philadelphia on Sunday.
How about
morning.
that Phillies team? Are you?
No.
So Shep, our guy, as we transition to games here. Are you familiar with Alvin Zo?
No.
The guy, he's a very big YouTube personality. He makes videos, cooking videos.
Oh.
But he makes it, it's like 72-hour lasagna where he lets things rest a lot and things take a long time. A lot of it's passive time, but he makes a lot of videos in that vein. And he was asking me for some cookie recipes today. And I said, well, I watch this guy's recipes like when the kids are here sometimes. And I just get a DM from Chef out of nowhere, like hours and hours later. I have strong words for Alvin, thinking I have 48 hours to make cookies. Like Shep will just DM out of the blue. This guy cracks me up. And then he says, "Can we get a food chat going?"
Yeah, we
do need a cooking.
We need a food and wine chat going. Yeah, for sure.
The finer things are get the F out. Buffalo, New England.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
This game was also bad in its own way.
No,
here's the thing.
So good.
Okay, yes. I mean, to be fair, yes.
MVP. You can't spell MVP without Josh Allen.
I had, besides your position in the Calcutta, the team total over, the over, awesome. All of these were so easy. Here's a multiverse question for you.
Yes.
So we had the perfect game. I don't think this is it got talked about a little. Maybe a lot, but maybe not enough. A game where you don't attempt a field goal, you don't punt, you score on all your drive. Like the fact that it had never happened before. And let's reverse ourselves. We're way back we're at the beginning of the season.
7 drives, 7 touchdowns. Is that what it was?
Yeah, we're gonna say there's going to be a game where this occurs. All right, there's going to be a perfect game this year. We're in our pregame. We're in August.
Yes.
So Drew, I'm from the future. There's a game. Yeah, 2 missed extra points. That's fair.
2 missed extra
points. But the offense, though, the perfect offensive game. So
yeah,
I say at the beginning of August, there's going to be this game's going to occur this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I described your situation. You're like, holy shit, that's quite the offensive performance.
Yeah.
Like, of all the games for this to happen, for it to happen against Belichick, for it to happen against
0 degrees,
a defense that had been playing up all year, a team playing with the elements like this, a Josh Allen stat where we were saying, oh man, he's been rough in the cold. He can't play in the cold. I had to hear that all week. Like the fact that it happened here was surprising. I'm not surprised Buffalo won. I'm not surprised that Buffalo scored a bunch.
Was it the
on
Viagra?
That all week.
Was it the Viagra? Performance enhancing. Oh, did he have to do a P test after? They probably got the old knock.
You can have boner pills in you.
Oh, you can? Okay. Well, I didn't realize that was a perfect game. I mean, and obviously it felt like a perfect game. 7 possessions. Technically they had 9 possessions. They kneeled to end the first half. Oh, actually 0 plays, 0 yards. So was that just a field goal it was a field goal and they kicked off and it was in the game. Yeah, but they kneeled at the end of the game. The offense you can't say much else about other than what you just said, which was not only was this a perfect game, it was against a legit opponent. And the Patriots made a lot of adjustments in that game. And the Bills just went to the next thing.
Yeah.
And they went to the next thing. Like they didn't just pick on them with the same thing over and over and over again. They started with a plan. It was a good plan. It worked well. Belichick adjusted. They pivoted. And they went with the next one. And that worked well. Belichick adjusted, and they did it again. Like basically, they had so it would. They had so many kind of variable looks that it gives you a lot of confidence that this Bills offense is absolutely real and that they can do if they can do this in that situation. Obviously, they're home. That mattered, but if they can do it in that situation, they can do it against anyone. And that makes it scary for everyone else who expects to win a Super Bowl this year.
Next week, this total is only 55. I know we're not really looking ahead yet.
Yeah.
Who
It got bet up already too.
We'll get to that game, and it did get bet up. But
yeah,
not a lot to say. The Patriots defense looked lost at times. They just couldn't make sense of some of the plays.
Did you think they looked lost, or they literally just like they couldn't do anything about it?
No, they looked lost because of some of the play calls that the Bills were making. Like the Isaiah McKenzie usage was like, oh shit,
it was very novel.
Well, yeah, they weren't ready for that. Like his one play streaking down the sidelines. I'm like, shit, that was a nice play.
Yeah.
Like, where was this versus some of these mid-season swoon games they had? Thank God they won the division. I needed that one pretty bad, but they looked slow. Papa Call says they look slow at times, and eventually
the Patriots defense.
Once you get
the linebackers, then we knew
go back and look at that. Even some of the pass rush was like, are we getting full effort? And I think once you're down by and once you're down by a certain amount, it's hard to stay motivated.
The first touchdown I thought was pretty telltale because the pass rush, they won a couple 1v1s. Josh Allen extended the play 10 seconds after the snap before he released the ball. It looked like he was just going to throw it out of bounds. It was like, oh, he's just throwing it away. But he put it in the only place where his guy could catch it. And the first Knox touchdown, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And the Patriots coverage across all the receivers on that play was excellent. Like there was tiny window, and Allen nailed it. And
Allen was on. Like, it was a combination of just if the Cockies, the Patriots were going to be a half step slow, and the play calling was going to be that good, and Josh Allen was going to be super accurate. Roll the 85 Bears out there, you're dicked. Like you just, what are you going to do? So it was a bad. I mean, it was a lot of fun for us. Like, I enjoyed this game because again, how about that under steam? Money came in on game day in this under.
Yeah, that I never understood. I guess it was the weather, maybe. But Allen ended up with 300 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. He had 66 yards on 6 rushes. He averaged 11 yards per carry.
He was scampering.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, that's
what was his long? I feel like he had like a 20-yarder in there.
26.
Okay.
That was early-ish in the game too. Right? Yeah. Anyway, it was just a damn good drive. I love the play calling. Dable basically brought out his absolute best stuff. Credit to him for pulling off that masterpiece. And I didn't think they really exposed too much. I didn't think they really exposed too much stuff that they're gonna need. They're gonna wish they had kind of put back under their hat. So we'll see.
I'm gonna try to work you up with peak too early takes.
That's gonna work. It'll work. That'll make me pissed.
That'll work. We talked a little of this one already. Like, the Raiders deserved a better fate. The Raiders, people that got a 6, people that even probably if you got a 5.5, probably deserved a better fate. I think I knew my fate when they were heading down there. It's like, man, they're kicking a field goal here when they were down 10. Like, we're screwed here. We've talked a bunch about this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on here. We've said it all year. Like, Joe Burrow looks poised. Joe Burrow looks like he's been in the league for a while. The coaching was competent enough. The pass receivers were existent. The running game was solid. And the defense did just enough to get some stops when the Raiders would cross midfield. And, it was just a matter of kind of red zone attrition. Like, the Raiders had to kick a couple more field goals, and our Bengals scored some touchdowns there. So this game was close. This game was very, very close. Like, the Raiders win this game quite a few times out of 100.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could take
like 40, maybe 35, 40.
42.
There was a little bit of fatigue for the Raiders, especially early.
Bad spot for them.
Yeah, late game Sunday that goes to overtime, and then you got to go play an early game on Saturday. That was tough. The whistle early that kind of set the tone for just general bad officiating. Anyone that tells you that, if they call that differently than the Raiders cover, was why they didn't. No. Like, if it's a 7-point game instead of a 10-point game, then they're going for touchdowns. They're not going to kick the field goal, right? at the end of the game. So that like it had, once you got to that fourth quarter, however you got there, it was gonna be an overtime game or a 7-point margin. I didn't think that they're not kicking a field goal to make it a 4-point game. As inexperienced as the coach was, he wasn't that stupid, right? Ultimately the Bengals, I think I'll ask you, was our read on Burrow not being as explosive through the passing game because of the matchup with the type of defense he was facing? Did that come to fruition, or was it more of a just the game
variance.
state didn't lend it to it?
No, little of the variance too. Like, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the Bengals red zone percentage, but I didn't like the way they looked once they got to the red zone. It seemed like they were like one of those games where you look good between the 20s, and then things get bunched up a little, and your Raiders safeties aren't sitting where they normally sit, and everything's bunched up, and there were some problems. Like, they need, if they want to compete next week, they definitely need to sort that. You're not going to win that game kicking field goals. I don't know. Maybe you are.
They were 2 of 5 in the red zone.
Yeah.
Versus and the Raiders were 1 of 5.
I was thinking more like their long term for the year. That I don't know if 1 year is enough of a sample size to like truly judge how a team, because there's so much variance on little plays here and there down in the red zone. But they need to figure that out, because just enough isn't going to get it done against other teams on the road. Well, I mean, basically, everyone left in the AFC is better than them, and or at least I guess I put the Titans a half point better than them. They're pretty much on equal standing for me,
since he was right around middle of the pack red zone percentage this season. Your point's fair. When you have a bunch of vertical threats like they have, and the field gets shorter. And you're going up against a team that's playing base defense and dropping a bunch into coverage, that happens. That does check out. That checks out.
Especially, and we'd said this about the Raiders, if you can get even a modicum of pressure without having to bring extra guys, and you can drop everyone into coverage in a short field like that, you're going to have problems.
Okay. Yeah. Jamar Chase have some drops in this one?
Yeah, I don't know, like when the voting happens. But
we didn't even comment on Mac Jones's performance against the Bills or the Bills defense. We just blew right by that. What did you think of the Bills defense, real quick, to go back?
Looked like they were playing a rookie.
Okay.
I didn't like anything about the Patriots offensive game plan. So it made it hard for me. Like, I had that in my notes. It's hard for me to tell if the Bills defense played good or if this is just the wrong game plan today.
Okay, that's fair. All right, that's kind of the same.
I really struggled to get a grip on it.
So basically, you can't. There's no takeaway of the Bills D from the Patriots game. No takeaway of the Chiefs D from the Steelers game.
Yeah, that's kind of fair.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully, we can just bet alt overs.
I was surprising for me in the Bengals game. Boyd and Higgins really not part of the plan so much. It was all Chase. In fact, Uzoma. Uzoma and Mixon got 5 and 6 targets respectively. Boyd and Higgins 5 and 4. So it was weird in terms of distribution of passes, but that was probably because of the way they matched up against the Raiders and the way the Raiders scheme defense more than anything else. I would expect, Burrow threw the ball 34 times, 24 or 34, reasonably efficient. Only got sacked twice.
Let's do that. This is your homework assignment. Let's dig into what kind of defense we think we'll see from Tennessee guys. I feel like a little teacher there, because if we think,
because that's going to matter.
It's especially if we get some red zone possessions, and Tennessee might be the kind of team who can get some pressure without bringing extra players, and they're able to cover.
Here's a crazy one for you.
You
know what we should do?
Under.
What's that? You want the under?
I kind of want this under now.
Ooh, I kind of want the over. Ooh, that's going to be fun to break down then. You know what I want to, what we should look at a little bit more? Like, I bet you the Bengals, considering how many touchdowns that offense scored over the balance of the season.
Yeah.
I bet you the proportion of them that were in the red zone was low.
I'd like to see that for every team. I bet
you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
We could pull that off the NFL.
So many of their touchdowns were big ones.
If we pulled the distance of every team's touchdowns, and then put them into 2 buckets, under 20 and under and 21 and over to get into this club,
Yeah.
I'd like to look at that.
I bet you the Bengals are on the high side.
Oh yeah, top third at least.
Oh yeah,
At worst
or
case,
maybe number one in
top
the NFL.
fifth.
Who's better? Who's better than them in the NFL in terms of
quintile.
long touchdowns?
Jags.
Oh, okay, because they had 0 red zone touchdowns. Is that why?
Yeah, they're all just broken plays.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. In general, the explosive nature of the Bengals passing defense is uncorked when you go up against a team that is aggressive and rushing bringing extra pressure, blitzing. Yeah. And yes, your homework is to figure out if Tennessee is one of those teams or not.
We touched on the lines last night on halftime, but that's not a podcast. So for the podcast listeners, let's run through those quick. We were pretty close. Green Bay yo-yoed around a little, but
let's talk about Cincy, Tennessee first, since we were
Cincy. Oh, I just had my eye on that 5.5. Cincy, Tennessee opened 2.5 some places, 3 others didn't matter. Both those numbers got bet. Total 47. I think that's pretty much where it opened. I think that's pretty static, isn't it? Or did we see a higher number there?
I haven't seen any market makers hang a bigger.
I've seen a 40. Okay, 47 is pretty much across the board. But yeah, early, I don't know if some of it was lower limits or if it was all market making books, but early numbers basically took Tennessee money.
Yes.
And I don't disagree. It's still
coming off a bye.
Yeah, coming off a bye, playing what is still a very young quarterback, a worser coach, a team there's nobody who has Cincinnati power ranked. I mean, what would you think the most aggressive power ranking could be on Cincinnati in the district? Like even with Tennessee?
No.
I think somebody could be that aggressive.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that's not crazy. So no, I think so. Cincinnati power number. There's probably somebody out there that's like that's a 3.5, and there's probably somebody out there that's like Tennessee's a 2.5. I think that's probably as aggressive as you can.
I think like a 2 would be as aggressive as you can get if you say like this game should be a pick 'em on a neutral. Somebody's that aggressive, I bet. But I'm kind of in line with this market. I'm going to look at a few things on Tennessee's scoring distributions and how they match up here. I do tend to like this under a little. I'm going to see what the market does with it first.
Okay.
Ooh, the deep dive Discord grabbed the Titans number early last night. Good job, guys. It's just like this own little colony in the Discord.
That's very cool, man. The total to me is low, but that's because from the back of my head, I feel like the Titans defense is not very good. And the Titans defense can't really generate much pressure unless they blitz, which I think could play poorly if that's what their plan A is. This Titans defense was worse pass rush wise last year than this year. They made some meaningful improvements. Maybe it was player personnel. Maybe it was just the opponents they faced, but they still were not an especially impressive unit from a pass rush standpoint. I don't really even. I mean, I guess I bet a lot of Titans game. I watched a lot of Titans games. It's really tough for me to pinpoint who this team is.
Their pass rush win rate as a team is 21st. It's not a scary pass rush. They're very good at the run stop. High percentage win rate there. That's kind of what they are. They do need to bring a little bit of a blitz. We kind of ruin the homework.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think these numbers are both fair. I just kind of want to touch on
off the top of your head. Can you name a team off the top of your head that you think is like especially blitz happy?
I mean, just historically, Baltimore's done a lot of exotic stuff.
Yeah. Anyone else come to mind?
I feel like Minnesota tended to bring a lot of blitzes this past season.
I definitely think of like the Tampa Bays of the world.
Yeah,
Tampa Bay is super aggressive blitz percentage. I
can only name purple teams.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, you got the likes of the Raiders, who blitzed 12% of the time. Look, that's amazing. Tampa Bay's blitz percentage this year was 41% of snaps.
Sometimes I think the Raiders just forgot to blitz.
Oh, sorry, not snaps. They blitzed on 41% of dropbacks. The Buccaneers did. The Raiders blitzed. The Raiders blitzed on what percentage dropbacks, Andy?
The Raiders, Ravens, or who?
Raiders, yeah. I just gave you the high mark, 41% for the Bucks. What was the Raiders' percent of blitzes
15?
per dropback? 12%. 12. Lowest in the league by a country mile.
By a damn sight.
Titans are actually in the bottom 5 blitz percentage. They only blitz 20% of dropbacks.
So they don't get pressure either way. It seems like when they get pressure, they get sacks. I'd like to see that. Like, I like that set. When you get pressure, you're finishing. That makes a difference. I think that you throw a little context. It's like, hey, this team doesn't get a lot of pressure. Yeah, but when they do, it's an 8-yard loss. Like, there's a difference there between a team that gets constant pressure and doesn't do much with it, especially when it just didn't matter. Like, hey, they got pressure all game long, and guess what? It was Mahomes, and that hurt them. Like, it actually made the game worse for them.
Tennessee actually very similar statistical profile to the Raiders. Sacks, pressures, knockdowns. They missed fewer tackles. They didn't have quite as many knockdowns, but they generated pressure on 24% of all dropbacks. Yeah. Raiders 24.6.
Similarities.
Super similar.
Good job to the chat getting the early number, especially if you got on the other side of 3. I think you see a little bit of a battle.
I'm seeing light on here on Tennessee and the under. To be honest, my gut was this should be 49.
Twitch gang, check it in. Joey.
Do you have a secret pod prop for the game tonight?
I don't have much. Like, we could go with the golf slack thing and bet the Caucasian tight ends. Higbee and
Hurts. No.
Julie Hurts.
No.
They're both like 10, 12, 15 to 1, somewhere in there. Put a couple shekels
Cardinals
on that.
Getting shut out. Cardinals team total under a half.
Under a half point.
Both teams to score no. That's my secret pod prop.
San Francisco, Green Bay. We said 6. And then somebody said it's 4.5. It's kind of been bet around. Noops, I don't know. Check his Twitter. I'll have to see if he's been a busy boy today.
Yeah, well, there's the Australian Open going on. Not sure if you knew that.
Yeah, he's doing a little tennis at this point in time too. So San Fran, Green Bay, 48, 5.5. This is something to keep an eye on. Like, if you know you have a book who's slow to adjust, I would keep an eye on that book. If these injuries start to materialize a little for San Francisco, because if Jimmy G is limited or possibly out, 5.5 is going to look like a absolute garage sale steal on this this one. Susie Colbert, 57. God bless her heart.
That's funny, man. I forgot that the Australian Open was going on. I got distracted looking at scores. My gut is the same with you, that injuries are going to move this market one way or the other. I think injuries are going to break positively for San Francisco, or they're going to seem positive breaking for San Francisco, but ultimately both the side and the total here depends entirely on how healthy Jimmy Garoppolo's thumb is and how accurate his passing is. If this is
good
a game,
point from Donaldson here too. Sprained shoulder today. That kind of came out. Like, I didn't hear sprained. I heard just injured. Like, if he's a sprained shoulder and a bad thumb, fuck, do I need to just bet Green Bay now? Yeah, let's say, all right, let's say, and I think it's obvious what happens to this line if the injuries go that way. Let's say Warner, Bosa are in, but maybe limited. Jimmy's out, or Jimmy's very struggly. What does this total do?
44.
Yeah, how far does it? I was going to say 45. That's a hell of a drop.
Well, it's going to be cold as shit, too. We saw what happened with that last week.
Okay. And then Buffalo KC, 55, 2.5.
Wow.
I think we said it. The Buffalo money is going to be early. Kansas City money will be on Sunday at about 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
I think the public will see Kansas City at home -2.5. they'll bet the shit out of that. I'm not saying it's the wrong side, but I think that's what you'll see late. If you want Kansas City, don't bet it right before kick. That's probably the worst of the number.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That's a fair read. I obviously don't have any need to get down on this game. I basically already bet it. I think the Bills win.
I tend to agree. I think they're the better team here. Kansas City trading on their name. And also, they didn't do anything. You can say, hey, they beat a bad team. But on the other side of that coin, they didn't do anything to make us doubt them. The slow start is quickly forgotten when suddenly it's 21-7.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had plus 7.5 first half, my heart, this one goes out to you. That was a rough beat. I had Kansas City minus 3.5. That was an easy one. God bless that. And the second half over.
That was a great one.
Easy peasy for us over the weekend. Yeah, we're going for the Super Wild Card Weekend sweep tonight. We'll be back at halftime. Oh, you know what? Now would be a good time for what's Dan? Drop the thing.
Wow. That's pretty fucking
that thing's
cool.
So intense.
That's fucking cool. It's only going to be for the people who watch with us on YouTube, though, because it's not going to come across in podcast.
If you listen to the podcast forum, you had no idea what happened, but it was epic.
Wow.
I know
that was epic.
That shit. It's like
that was like some serious production value there, man. Holy shit.
Dan's been working on some stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
The Deep Dive halftime show. We will have special guest Michael Bay on. That's Patrick beat us to it.
Awesome, man. Fuck yeah. Hey, I was gonna ask you one other thing. And I forgot. Oh yeah, I was gonna just say my entire week is gonna go like this. I'm gonna be listening to all the other content and listening to everybody else who talks about football betting, whose opinion I care about, tell people who opinions I don't, and looking for people who support Kansas City and getting really angry about how wrong they are. Like, I'm just gonna get myself worked up all damn week. Like, I can't believe this guy can't believe like fucking God, yeah. Come on, this is fucking bullshit. Like, that's pretty much how it's gonna go for me this week. So
you just take deep breaths, guys. You did great today here in the chat. Hopefully you come back for halftime. We'll do. My wife won't be here today, so I can go as long as we need. But she wishes I could say that to her. And we'll take all the playoff questions you have here at halftime.
This is a good one to answer real quickly to put on this podcast.
I was going to do this at halftime, but yeah, doing this on podcast form is good form. So I don't have a big difference here. I'd say I'm off. It's about a 2-point difference here.
So the question is, quick thoughts on projected Tampa Bay Rams, Tampa Bay, Arizona lines. I think it's going to be Rams plus 3.5, Cardinals plus 5.5. That's my guess.
Yeah, I have a 2-point difference. I was 3 and 5. I'm a little less Tampa heavy.
That's assuming that this is a 1-possession game tonight, and that there's not a big injury. Total's going to be around 51-ish.
Sure. FanDuel is actually posting Rams 3.5, Arizona 6 right now. If you wanted to bet it ahead of time.
Wow. All right. Yeah. No, that's doesn't exactly score with tonight's market between these two teams, but yeah.
I think they're saying home field stinks at SoFi. Do you remember SoFi last week?
Yeah, it wasn't very helpful.
It was all Niners. That'll be this game starts in like 10 minutes, so be interesting to see if we see the sea of red move north.
Ooh, that'll be fun. All right, man. I'm gonna check out some Aussie while we wait for this game to kick off, and we'll see you at halftime.
Getting tennis on the other screen. Good call.
My one look that I had so much CLV on today, Timofey Skatov is absolutely sucking. He's gonna get straight swept, straight setted by Norbert Gombos. What a disaster.
There's been a few of these where it's like, why is this favorite isn't playing very well? Although Philip, good call last night on Cameron Norrie is a favorite of that size. Probably not a good look. He looked like absolute garbage.
Basically, every male tennis player who had a really solid late summer, fall, and really got their ranking points up there and is totally safe regardless of the outcome of this tournament, just came and picked up a check and headed home.
Yeah, they don't want to get the Rona.
Lloyd Harris, Cameron Norrie. There's a bunch of them. All right, let's wrap it.
John Lenny Struff.
He's playing right now. He's losing.
Yeah. See you guys. Jean Lenny. Goff. Yeah, Coco Goff looked horrible.
Yeah, that was a stinker.
Fanini